I guess we're just going to get started immediately. Oh, thanks, Will.
Thank you, Will.
So yes, these wonderful visual aids are brought to you by our friend Will.
Yes.
Who was very lovely to provide them, because I don't know how this happened, but I don't have either one on DVD yet.
That blows my mind.
I don't know. I need to fix that.
Yes, you do.
So, I'm just going to get started right away. So, I think I'm going to start with the, quick introduction. The Muppets Most Wanted was this week. We're doing the Muppet Movie versus the Muppets. Let's go.
It made good sense to me.
That's usually your job, but we're in a hurry.
Yep.
We're going to start with the Muppet Movie, which came out in 1979. And basically is, I'll say this real quick too, the reason we're comparing these two specifically is, I guess it's kind of an old versus new thing, and also because the Muppets from 2011 is basically the closest we've been to the magic that was the original movie.
True.
Like, we had the Muppet Movie, then the Muppets Take Manhattan, and that's kind of like the gold standard.
Yeah.
And then we had, there's so many of them, I'm just drawing a blank.
The Great Muppet Caper.
Yeah. And then you had, as you got down farther, you had something great like A Muppet Christmas Carol,
mm-hmm.
and then there was Muppet Treasure Island, which was okay, and then Muppets from Space, which is, but then Jason Segel totally brought it back.
Yes.
So, none of those are bad or anything, just, it really brought back the magic that the original movies did. So, the movie's from 1979, and basically starts with all the Muppets in the theater doing that thing. The very iconic shot, one of a few in this movie, of the helicopter shot that's mentioned in the script that we hear about later, when the band's actually reading the script for the movie. And Kermit's singing the Rainbow Connection, and we come down and he's sitting on a log with his banjo in the swamp. And we get the whole song in that big moment. The song was nominated for an Oscar, too. It got beat by the song from Norma Ray.
So wrong.
Sorry, but anyway, Brett McKenzie made up for that later.
Yeah, he did.
And then here comes Dom DeLuise in a canoe.
So awesome.
To basically inform, he's an agent, and he informs Kermit that Hollywood just happens to be looking for frogs, and there is an audition that's going to be held. And even though Kermit is happy in his swamp and doesn't really want to leave, he goes to Hollywood anyway because he wants to make people happy. Because that's how DeLuise basically advertises it. Kermit will basically be able to do what he does, but able to make millions of people happy. The trouble is, on his way there, he meets up with Charles Durning and Austin Pendleton. And Charles Durning is a businessman who runs a bar that is famous for its frog legs.
Ooh.
So he spends the whole movie chasing him, and throughout the movie, he one by one meets the Muppets. Which, of course, leads you to the fact that this is actually an origin story that goes before the show. Mm-hmm. Which is a very interesting concept. Because you always have superhero origin stories and shit like that, but why shouldn't the Muppets have an origin story?
Very true. And
they love playing with that too, because there's a scene where they're all driving down the road and they pass Big Bird, who's just walking down the road with a suitcase, and they offer him a ride, and he's like, "No, I'm just on my way to, try to start my own TV show." And they're just like, "Good luck with that," and they leave him.
The rest, as they say, is history.
And this basically, obviously the show already existed for like 3 years before they made the movie. But as far as movies are concerned, like, I didn't really grow up on the show the way a lot of people did. But I was aware of, like, I knew them mainly through Muppet movies. And then, like, when they started to get into, like, Muppet Treasure Island and Muppets from Space and stuff like that.
Did you watch Muppets Tonight? Or even know of its existence?
No, I know of its existence, but I never... But
some interesting stuff there.
By the magic of YouTube, I've seen a lot of it now. And anyway, what I'm saying is, as far as movies go, to people who didn't, grow up on the show or anything like that, this brought like a whole new thing. This was just like a whole different thing than anybody had ever seen before. It was these puppets that have like the Muppets are basically puppets that have such a life to them. Like, what the Muppets are most famous for is when you see, like when they were making this one, or if you talk to people that had cameos in the other movies, pretty much everybody from Mickey Rooney to Michael Caine will tell you that working with the Muppets is like working with actors. And not like puppeteers. Like, when you're working with Kermit the Frog, it feels like Kermit the Frog is a real person right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that scene. There is an amazing scene that doesn't really get enough credit for just how magical it is in the original movie. Obviously, the main thing with the Muppets is we see them from the waist up. Because obviously, they're puppets. There is a scene at the very beginning of the Muppet movie where we see Kermit riding his bike. And there does not appear to... It is so seamlessly done. There does not seem to be a special effect in sight. And I think it was Roger Ebert that said, obviously when you see that, you know there was some movie magic involved. But screw that. This movie is so magical, it makes you just drop everything, and it makes you just want to believe, I don't care about movie magic, I don't care what they did. Right now, that is Kermit the Frog riding a bike by himself with no help. That is real.
And that's repeated in Muppets Take Manhattan, too.
And it's just this... It's movie magic of a different kind, if you know what I mean. Like, when you think of the term movie magic, you think, what did they do to make that happen? But this is just... It just opens your imagination immediately. It's one of the very first scenes of the movie. And it makes you feel like anything you're about to see is possible. And what's great about them is the fact that, especially Kermit specifically, obviously Muppets can only move so much. Or general puppets can only move so much. And then you have, like, real actors can do, like, subtle things, like have subtle tics or, like, just ways about them or, like, mannerisms. Kermit the Frog has subtleties when he's on screen. Like, the way his mouth moves or the way he just the way his general presence is. It's wild, actually. That's why, I think that's why so many actors love showing up in these movies, because it's just like a whole... It's not just puppeteers and actors just doing stuff. It's like a whole magical experience of working with these actors that just happen to be Muppets.
That's like how everybody wanted to be drawn into an episode of The Simpsons nowadays.
Yeah. Even Simon Pegg in Hot Fuzz, his character said, when I was a child, I wanted to be Kermit the Frog when I grew up. And the humor was also unlike anything we'd seen before. It's maybe like in the Bob and Bing Crosby era of the Road 2 movies. But it kind of came back with a vengeance in these movies. Like when they do, like when they talk about how everything's, when something is a convenient plot point, they point it out as such. And that's a continuous thing through the rest of them. That's even in the new one, I forgot to bring that up.
Yep.
The bus.
The bus, yeah.
When they meet the band, we met Fozzie and we were in his Studebaker and we're driving around and they do the whole thing and it's like a half an hour in and then we meet the band at the abandoned church that they're turning into a club. And they're trying to tell the band what's going on. And they stop and they say, well, wait a minute, we're going to bore the audience if we just tell them everything that happened. Let's just give the band the script and they can read it. And they read it, and it's like the actual script they use for the movie. It says like open helicopter shot on the swamp, Kermit singing voice. And then there's just and they do that again in the 2011 with you know what? We don't really need to see us picking up all the Muppets. Why don't we just do it in a montage?
Yes.
And it was just like a whole different way of doing things that we hadn't seen in a really long time. And it was how it's so clever, but at the same time, it makes the movie really easy. Because you don't have to deal with all the bullshit that you don't really care for in movies. Because all movies have their exposition point, or we absolutely need this because they're a plot point. The writers of the Muppet movies actually take that and work with it and make it something hilarious and original. Which, I don't know how much credit... I mean, I know these movies are beloved, but I still don't know if they quite get the love that they should. because they're really, like, monumental in what they accomplish as far as
way ahead of their time.
The type of humor that it is. And you know, there are those moments where, like, every now and then because it's from 1979, you watch it and you think, I don't think that would fly today, so it's really fun to appreciate as it is. When we first meet Rolf, and he's playing the piano, and he's talking about what he does basically to relax. Rolf basically says that he relaxes by playing his piano with a couple of beers. Try passing that off in the movies today.
They would have changed the line to bears. They would have. No, they would have.
And there's running jokes everywhere, like the Hare Krishna joke, where even Kermit finally breaks the fourth wall a lot, and it's always great. But Kermit actually breaks the fourth wall and says, I think that's probably going to be a running joke. And then, sure enough, after they've done it enough, they stop at the church, and the church says, if you need to speak to somebody, find Reverend Hare Krishna. And of course the cameos. I will say this, as far as comparing the two, the cameos don't quite, the newest movie, Muppets Most Wanted, actually did this really well.
Yes.
Something that this movie kind of struggled with was the cameos. The cameos in this one are more pop culture related.
Yes.
And the Muppet Movie cameos are, like, really, really classy. Like, basically to compare right now, the cameos in the Muppet Movie are Orson Welles, and Orson Welles obviously is the guy that gave, he's the big producer, he's not actually playing Orson Welles, but he's playing a big producer that gives Kermit the rich and famous contract. Mm. And Steve Martin is the insolent waiter, which is great, because Steve Martin always has, like, a connection with them. I don't know how many times he was on the show, but I know it's a lot.
Yeah.
Mel Brooks is, like, the mad scientist that was gonna basically cook them for Charles Durning. Bob Hope was in there, like, really briefly, in, like, maybe, like, one frame. James Coburn is the owner of the bar that he goes to that sells the frog legs, which is really random when you think about it, of all people. Mm-hmm. Elliot Gould's at the carnival. Richard Pryor is the guy with the balloons at the carnival. Milton Berle is a car salesman. Madeline Kahn and Telly Savalas are at the bar. These are not the same level of cameos we've been getting.
No, not at all.
I mean, the new one has Mickey Rooney is in there. Alan Arkin is the tour guide. And it's also really interesting that they actually used the cameos well. Like, the Mickey Rooney cameo, he's only in one shot. Mm. I mean, he's in the end credits, but as the movie itself, they don't milk it. We see him once and then he's gone. That's what I love about them. But it has, I mean, I know it has to be up to date, because those were people that were kind of famous and up to date at the time, but they still hadn't quite a revered status at the time. This has, like, Emily Blunt and Krasinski and Neil Patrick Harris, who,
yeah,
fine. Sarah Silverman, who I love and think is too hated by people. Judd Hirsch is in the end credits, but I don't remember seeing him in the actual movie.
That's a callback then, because Carol Kane was in the Muppet Movie.
Oh, of course.
It's a taxi callback. It's exactly what it is.
I forgot to mention Carol Kane is the myth running joke. Though the Muppets does kind of play with that, where they do test on the fact that they're dated. Like, a lot of the Muppets have, like, gray hair now, or they have, like, alterations in some way. They have altercations.
They do have altercations too.
And there's the great scene where they're even testing who Kermit knows, because they're starting the telethon, and Whoopi Goldberg, Selena Gomez, and the kid from Modern Family walk in all at the same time, and Kermit's calling them off. And he looks at them, and he goes, Whoopi Goldberg? Selena Gomez? Hi there! So, but I will say, as long as we're comparing the two, I will say this, as we kind of transfer over to the new one. Talking about the fact that the new one is an Oscar-winning movie.
Yes, it is.
Thanks to Brett McKenzie. Where the old one was great for its classic cameos, the new one has much more memorable songs.
Oh, yeah.
I actually remember most of the songs from... I don't know if it's just because I think I've seen this one a few more times than this one.
Yeah.
But, everything from Life's a Happy Song, which is my favorite of the bunch, despite the fact that Man or Muppet weirdly won for some reason.
Yeah.
Everybody loves Pictures in My Head because of how melancholy and callback
Pictures
it is.
in My Head, yeah.
I love the Me Party song that Amy Adams does.
Yes.
When they do the barbershop scene with Jack Black and they're singing Smells Like Teen Spirit, you're ruining one of the greatest songs of all time.
Or Chris Cooper's villain song.
Chris Cooper's rap, which is a little divisive. I feel no one way or the other about Chris Cooper's rap. I just know I was shocked when I first saw it.
Yeah, I was too.
Didn't see that coming, but that's basically what it was for.
Yeah.
Was to basically make you say, what in God's name is Chris Cooper doing? He has an Oscar, man. So obviously the Muppets is, we meet Jason Segel and Walter, who are brothers, and it's really great because the movie never explains that.
Nope.
What I love is they joke on that too. Is we see a picture of Walter and Jason Segel together, and Walter's narrating. He says, "Yeah, I know what you're thinking. We're practically twins," and we never go into that again.
Other than wearing the same suit.
And of course, Jason Segel was mainly responsible for bringing this back because he basically wrote the script with Nicholas Stoller, who's the director of Forgetting Sarah Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
And they basically brought back all the magic. Some of it falls a little short of the magic of the original stuff, but it's definitely the best Muppet movie they could have made in this time period.
Agreed.
And I forgot to mention that too in the other review, but it does kind of show where exactly the magic kind of went away when Jason Segel wasn't involved in the new one. But, still. I found it a little jarring that apparently Frank Oz was not a fan of this one.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I haven't really read much into that. I just heard that's what his opinion is. I'm not sure. Maybe he discouraged Jason Segel. That's why he didn't come back. I don't know.
It's a good possibility.
But I'm not sure what the problem was because I think this definitely brings back the. I find it hilarious. I've just noticed that the back of this cover is giving Amy Adams credit for Doubtin' the Fighter.
That's awesome. Not even credit for Enchanted.
Junebug's here. Well, it's talking about her Oscar-nominated performances. This was before The Master and American Hustle.
Nice.
It's just weird that they put it there. They talk about Chris Cooper winning, too. This is a very well-informed DVD cover.
Thank you, Blu-ray DVD cover.
Yeah. So, yeah. But it does have... This one might be more consistently funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not as... It may not always be as clever as the original movies, but I think the laughs are probably more consistent. Like, particularly... Like, the stuff with Jack Black you'd think could be hit or miss.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's a few things that I love, like the, Everybody Loves Animals line, Jack Black said no drones.
Yeah.
Just the fact in general that Animal and Jack Black are in the same support group.
In control.
Another couple of lines I love are, I don't know that guy's name. I don't even know what he is. But he's the big guy that's hanging out in Jack Black's dressing room.
It's Sweetums. I said it on the review we did 2 days ago.
That was talking about the other guy. This is the guy that's talking to him, and he just says, "Those are some nice teeth you have there, Jack Black." And one of my favorite lines in the movie is when they kidnap Jack Black to bring him to the telethon to host it because they need a celebrity host.
Yeah, apparently.
Because Kermit's too out of date. And they have the funny joke later where Neil Patrick Harris is on the phone at the telethon. He's like, "No, I don't know why I'm not hosting this." But Fozzie tells Kermit that they've kidnapped Jack Black. And first off, his response alone is golden, but then the follow-up is great. Kermit's response is, "You can't just kidnap Jack Black, that's illegal." And then Fozzie's response of, "Kermit, what's more illegal? Briefly inconveniencing Jack Black or destroying the Muppets?" "Kidnapping Jack Black,
Fozzie." Yep.
I mean, of course, this telethon brings back all the magic. I heard a lot of fans of the show were practically in tears when they got to see the opening on a theater screen.
Oh, that was so cool.
All the way down to Kermit doing our special guest Jack Black and doing his thing, and then
the Rainbow Connection.
Yeah.
Oh, that was amazing.
Gonzo with the trumpet. Yeah, the Rainbow... Okay, I will say this. Obviously, the Rainbow Connection in the Muppet Movie is an iconic moment. Full of iconic scenes. Like them and, Fozzie's Studebaker or him on the bike. I would say the Rainbow Connection in the new one owns the one in this one.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
When you have all of them. It's just this great... Like I said, I didn't even necessarily grow up with the show per se, but that scene is like never slacking on the emotions it brings up.
It's like the waterworks have already started when Animal grabs the drumsticks for the first time in forever and starts to do his solo into the end of the song.
I was also reading, apparently when this one came out, and obviously this one also goes into it, I guess some critics complained that the Muppets lost a bit of their magic when they came into the real world and out of the Muppet Studio.
That's interesting.
I don't think that at all.
No.
I think it's a really... I don't even know where they're coming from. I just think it's just all part of the magic, the way they blend in. It's like the way people took the Who Framed Roger Rabbit when it came out.
I think Manhattan was a good option with that, too.
Yeah, with Who Framed Roger Rabbit, for instance, the animation and the live action go so seamlessly together. It's the exact same thing here. There's no difference whatsoever. There's no difference from Kermit the Frog and a real life actor. There's no difference, which is the amazing thing. I will say one thing about the Rainbow Connection that bothers me in this one, and it's not about the number at all. It's the fact that the Rainbow Connection moment in this movie is so amazing. I think they really messed up with the fact that it wasn't the end.
Yeah, it should have been, definitely.
Because the end of the telethon is actually the fact that Walter needs to find his talent. And they build that up through the whole movie. Walter really, really needs a talent. So, after this big, magnificent, emotion-stirring rendition of the Rainbow Connection with all of the Muppets all together on the stage, his name just flew out of my head. Animal doing the drums again.
Yes.
We end on Walter whistling.
Yeah.
I don't know. Whistling.
But you really couldn't have done it. You couldn't have flipped it.
Yeah, because remember, Walter was supposed to perform, and then he had stage fright, and he ran through the wall.
Yeah.
And then they just did the rest of the show, and then Walter came back. Walter should have done his whistling thing, and then we should have ended on the Rainbow Connection. That's my opinion, anyway.
I could see that point. And
I love the joke where they have to raise $10 million, and they do so. They get to $9,999,999.99.
Yes.
And then it stops. And, of course, it's like an oh moment. And we realize they raised all that money. But then, of course, you're actually thinking, even if it's the Muppets, how did they get to $10 million? And, of course, it turns out that the thing's broken, and they only got to, like, $9,999. It's like, well, that makes a little more sense, and it makes the blow less painful.
Yeah, exactly.
But they get it back anyway when Chris Cooper suffers a head injury, and it's wrapped in a nice little bow. So yeah, I would say this was definitely a labor of love from Jason Segel, and they did, obviously he has a love for it, and for getting Sarah Marshall, he works with puppets, so that kind of was a foreshadowing that he really, really wanted to do this kind of thing, because I believe he was talking about this when he was doing his promotional run for Sarah Marshall.
Yes.
And it came out 3 years later. So, yeah, as far as choosing... Oh, also this one has the greatness that is 80s Robot.
80s Robot is back in Muppets Most Wanted too.
He didn't really get...
He had a background character, basically, though.
So, yeah, I would say... And it brought back all the old humor, like, referencing, what's a plot point, and whether or not they're boring the audience, and when, after Manor Muppet happens... Jason Segel goes back to Amy Adams, and he's saying how he's made his decision. He's going to stay with her, and she's like, "Are you sure?" And he's like, "Yeah, I've absolutely made my decision. I'm positive. I just sang a whole song about it."
Yeah.
So yes, even though the Muppets absolutely brought back the magic of the original movies, the original movies are always going to be the original movies.
Yeah.
And were what they were, and nothing's probably gonna like. They can be equaled, but I don't think they're gonna be overpowered or topped.
Fair
So, if I absolutely, positively must choose, which is basically like choosing between children,
Yeah.
I'd say, you can't fail the originals. So.
Alright.
I know that's a cliche, but...
We've had battles where the new one has won before, so...
So, that's pretty much the end of this.
Next week, we are going to do another one of these before and after type situations with one of the greatest actors of all times. I'll let you simmer on that. AJ, any parting words?